attendance. They had a priority on basic needs: food, shelter, money, children's welfare. So all of these systems that we look at today that are said to be great, that are said to be excellent, like Finland and Singapore, when you look back on how they got to be where they're at, they undertook a set of interventions along the way that were particular to their performance level. So when we reflected on the McKinsey report, we thought, well, actually, doesn't this analysis apply within a system? Doesn't the Western Australian system actually cover that whole range? Isn't there within Western Australia excellent schools and great schools and good schools and fair schools and poor schools? Western Australian schools traverse that whole performance spectrum. Yeah, the centre of gravity might be around good, but Western Australia does have excellent schools. And Western Australia does have poor schools, failing schools. And there's a whole lot of schools in the middle there, they're all right, they're good. But geez, I wish they were better. And we, every year we're trying to get it over the line from good to great, but we always languish around the middle. What do we need to do to kind of step up to the next stage? How do we shift the performance from poor to fair to good to great? In Cape York, we've used that metric in our thinking from day one in 2010. And we've developed with McKinsey a way of measuring that performance. I have to say, I think we did the poor to fair journey in the first year, in 2010. We run fair schools, and we started running them in our first year, but they were poor. If there were a national competition of worst school in Australia, we would have had a candidate. And but I would say that that school is a fair school today, and it was a fair school in a very short order. We turned the ship around. In some of the photographs there, you'll see some white kids. They're usually the child of a mechanic or a council clerk or some service provider who lives in the community. Those kids, they might come from working class families, but because they attend every day and they've got a whole lot of things in place, they do really well at our schools. They're better off going to Hurricane School than going to a school in Cairns, because they've got everything else sorted out, and Hurricane School gives them effective instruction. So it's just extraordinary when I see these Vietnamese kids whose father happens to be working for the local council or something. They do really well at our schools. The thing that struck us about the McKinsey work was that we're on a journey. First part, go from poor to fair. Now we're trying to get to good. We're not there yet. I think our partners from the National Institute for Direct Instruction will agree with us that we are still fair. I was hoping that we were knocking on the door of good, but I think we're still 2 years away from being able to say we're good. We're going to have to solve some heroic challenges in respect of attendance. It's a big impediment. If the kids are not there, then the effective instruction can't work. In one of our schools, we still have a massive attendance challenge. In another one of them, 100% yesterday. And so that's our thinking about school reform. It's a journey. We're 5 years into it now. We've gone from poor to fair. We're not yet good, but at some stage soon we are going to be good. And then when we get to good, we're going to start thinking about heading to great. One of the things exercising our minds, which is going to be an issue for you guys, it's an issue that I just want to plant in your heads at this stage, not to burden you with it, but just to have in the back of your minds when you start to feel the real business of tectonic shift under the foundations of your school, when you feel that real tectonic shift that effective instruction can give you, the kind of big challenge you have to have at the back of your mind is, how do we sustain this? And how do we keep this? How do you turn a 3-year literacy intervention into a long-term, sustainable embedding of good teaching? Because you're going to develop within your faculties in this school highly effective teaching by highly effective teachers. But you're not going to be there forever. You're going to be there for the next 2, 3, 4 years. You're going to have to hand the baton over to another crop, another crew. They're not trained like you are. And so the issue will be, how do we hand the baton on? And how do we turn these schools into, how do we get a bit of sandstone into the school? How do we create an institution? And that's the thing about schools. If you get a bit of sandstone into the place, if you turn it from just a mere school into an institution, the sandstone kind of carries the reform, the culture, the good teaching practice, and it maintains the achievement. So I just want to introduce that idea. It's not something that we need to solve tonight or tomorrow, but the whole business of how do we turn these places from schools into institutions. Because we're going to have to. Otherwise, another government's going to have to come along and find another $22 million for an intervention. And we can't do that in cycles. We can't just have another literacy and numeracy push. We're going to have to think about how what we do over these next 3 years is sustained, and how you guys hand over a culture to those who will come after you. I'm really pleased that we have a relationship with the National Institute for Direct Instruction in Oregon, but I'm also very pleased that we